In 1878, the Russians mopped the floor with the quickly fading sick man of Europe, the Ottoman Empire. What followed was a series of great power interventions in the partitioning of the Balkan territories. The Treaty of San Stefano was quickly revised through the Treaty of Berlin, shattering the dreams of Bulgarian nationalists who had briefly achieved their wildest dreams. But that's a topic for another time. Another result that was going to simmer into future tensions was Austria-Hungary's occupation of Bosnia after a costly but ultimately successful campaign immediately following the conclusion of the Congress. This is fairly well known, but what tends to slip through the cracks is the 29-year presence of Austro-Hungarian troops and military officials in a region known as the Sanjak of Novi Pazar, or simply the Sanjak, which was left under formal Ottoman control and intended to separate the kingdoms of Serbia and Montenegro from achieving unification. The ethnic makeup of this area was very typical of this region of the Balkans during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Serbs, Montenegrins, Turks, Muslim Slavs, and Albanians all inhabited the zone, and brief conflicts and incursions were common. The Austro-Hungarians referred to these as being carried out by bandits. Despite the Sanjak taking its name from Novi Pazar, the Austro-Hungarians occupied only the northern part of the assigned territory. No troops ever entered Novi Pazar during the entire period of activity, creating an administrative center of their own around Plevlje, in what is today Montenegro. Plevlje had about 2,000 Habsburg soldiers stationed in the vicinity, as well as a consulate which had been constructed. The Austro-Hungarian troops had overall peaceful relations with the local population of 40,000. The primary duty being carried out was the improvement of local infrastructure and general quality of life aspects, such as the construction of roads, the maintenance or establishment of steady and clean water sources, etc. And nearly the entirety of military casualties were the result of disease or flooding, as opposed to the sabotage or violence undertaken by the local populace. There were still Ottoman troops stationed in the territory who, during the occupation and during periods of increased unrest, closely cooperated with Austro-Hungarian troops. This also extended to the suppression of Serbian nationalist propaganda. Several officers present in the Sanjak of Plevje brought their families, despite this being forbidden by the military authorities, and a primary school had been established. Ultimately, the Habsburg forces withdrew in 1908 after nearly 30 years of continued military presence, primarily due to the Bosnian annexation crisis. I'll add a link to a good video on the subject in the description next to my sources. But also in part because of the Young Turk Revolution, which had been carried out previous year, and caused some Ottoman officials to take a more hostile tone when working with their Austro-Hungarian counterparts. Following a temporary and uneventful Ottoman annexation or return of the Sanjak, the First Balkan War's Treaty of London split the district between Serbian and Montenegrin kingdoms along a border which still exists to this day. This lasted until the First World War broke out, during which the Sanjak fell between the Serbian and Montenegrin military governments under the control of Austria-Hungary, in which officers who had previously served in the area were returned. According to the International Encyclopedia of the First World War, an occupation policy was implemented which preferred the Muslim and Turkish population over Orthodox Montenegrins and Serbs for several reasons. The Serbs were seen as the cause of the war, while the Muslims and Turks were conceived of as reliable. It was reported that they had supported the KUK troops, and the Ottoman Empire had become an ally. Thank you so much for watching. Apologies for the audio quality. This is a Google Chromebook. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content, and consider leaving a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts.